We'll see how we can use some of these properties to help us. So on this first one, on A, you see how it's 3 times 6 plus 3 times 4. Now you could just use the order of operations and do that. But if we think about the distributive property, we could rewrite this as 3 times 6 plus 4. See, that's 3 times 6 and 3 times 4, right? Well, then 6 plus 4 is 10, and then 3 times 10 is 30. That might be a little bit easier to do the calculations with that rather than figuring out 3 times 6 and then 3 times 4. Okay, now here we have some parentheses. Now, note about parentheses. Notice, because sometimes students will ask me, well, why don't you do the parentheses first because of order of operations? In this case, that 5 plus 8, that is in parentheses. That is something you could do. It's addition. But the parentheses over here, there's nothing to do inside. They're just separating it to a negative 8. Do you know what I mean? Like, they didn't want to put plus negative, so the parentheses are saying, hey, we're going to add a negative 8. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use the associative property, and instead of adding these two, I'm going to switch it to 5 plus, I'm going to bring in a bracket, 8 plus negative 8. Now, this is going to be 0 because they are inverses, 8 and negative 8. So you get 5 plus 0, or just 5. So it makes the calculation a little bit easier. On C here, I don't really see a property that's going to be super helpful. You can look at it in the book and see what they did, but this is an order of operations thing. 15 and 9 is 24. So it's 6 minus 24. If you want to think of it as 6 plus a negative 24, sometimes students like to do that, you're going to get a negative 18 here. And you could have distributed the minus sign. You could have written it as 6 minus 15 minus 9, but I don't know that that's going to be super helpful. Sometimes properties are helpful, sometimes they're not. Now here's one where it's helpful, and sometimes students are like, ooh, fractions. Okay. Notice that you have a 4/7 here and the reciprocal over here, 7/4. What I'm going to do is first look inside the parentheses and I'm going to switch their order. So keep the 4/7 times, now I'm going to make it 7/4 times 2/3. That's the commutative property. Now that doesn't help me enough, but if I do the associative property now and I regroup it, 4/7 times 7/4 times 2/3. Well, then those are reciprocals, right? That's just a 1. Slide this up. So I have 1 times 2/3. That's an identity for multiplication, so I just get 2/3. And I didn't really have to do any fraction work. All right. Now, what have we got going on here on E? We've got 100 times, and then we've got these decimals. It looks to me like I should distribute here. So I'm going to think about 100 times 0.75 plus 100 times negative 2.38. Well, the great thing about multiplying by 100, it just moves the decimal 2 places. So I have 75 now plus a negative 238. Now, I don't know what that is, 75 and negative 238. I could get a calculator, but I'm just going to go over here to the side and do it the old-fashioned way. Now, this is a subtraction thing that I'm doing. So it's 163. I could check it by adding these. And I think that looks good. Do I have more negative or more positive? I have more negative. So negative 163. And you could always check it with a calculator. But okay, so using the properties.